Welcome back to Combined Alien and Horror, where hidden truths and untold stories come to light. Today, we dive into... They moved into a house that felt like promise. A cat named Bella curled in sunlit corners. Perfect. Until the house to the right became a wound. An unfinished fence, open gardens like unzipped doors, a face at a window, blank, patient, watching. Half an hour became a promise. 3 men stepped through a lifted board. They offered stolen tablets, then smiled like they owned the night. They came back to stare, lifted fences like doorways. The youngest carried a heavy bag and an appetite for intimidation. Cameras were placed, then stolen. A ring bell found on the floor, an SD card gone. Police watched video, took notes, and left. Whistles in the dark. A knock at 2:16 a.m., tapping on glass where a life slept. The feed showed nothing, as if the night itself swallowed proof. A man in a black mask stood with his arms wide, like a grotesque offering. He mouthed words we couldn't hear. He stared until the stars looked away. They tried the door. They circled the house like vultures. We told the police. They told us to lock doors. Advice that's not protection. Advice that is silence. They waited across the street and pointed. Why us became a hollow echo. The second story begins with a breakup. A man named Caleb left a language behind. Nicknames, sarcastic prompts, tiny anchors he used to pull her under. She changed numbers. She cut accounts. She moved cities. But language follows like smoke. A barista said sunshine like a ghost reading a script. A driver asked, "Ever figure out what you're running from?" Voices repeat private lines in public. Different faces, the same empty eyes. She thought a private investigator. She thought Caleb. His sister sent a picture of rehab, proof he was elsewhere. But the whispers continued. A doormat flipped, a pen scrawl. "You can change your face too if you want, but I'll still recognize you." Hotel knocks at 2 a.m., a blank-faced woman at the door. No one recorded her. A forum he once mused about a group that shares tactics for control. What if the tactics are now a playground? What if strangers become carriers of someone else's obsession? She dyed her hair, disappeared, and still someone on the street said, "Still hiding behind books, sunshine?" Paranoia bloomed into therapy appointments and quiet panic. The final story. A family trip to a lake. An Airbnb split across 2 buildings like a secret and its shadow. Late laundry, midnight trips. The garage smelled of mold and old decisions. 3 thuds at 3 a.m. Heavy knocks that wake a house. A man stood behind the garage and vanished when called. Leaves fell without a sound where he walked. Gesture cards placed like taunts. Footsteps on the porch at 4 a.m. A rattling basement door. A weak lock tested. No footprints, but presence. The family fled to the main house. Cameras promised answers. The host promised footage they'd never see. Here is the thread. Faces that are wrong. Language that won't die. Presence that doesn't need owning. Trespassers, hired actors, or something older. The method doesn't matter. The horror is the pattern. Someone learns the shape of your life and uses the corners to scare you. They teach strangers to speak your private weather. They teach empty eyes to remember the way you breathe. When the law becomes a list of do's and don'ts, silence becomes the real accomplice. If you live with a window and a history, check your locks. But know this: sometimes locking the door is the loudest thing you can do to hide a truth that keeps knocking. We will come back to the ones who vanished into thin air. We will come back to the faces that never blink. Until then, sleep with one light on and listen for the knock that means something entirely else. And remember, someone watches you even when you sleep alone.